All right, everyone. No Limit Atlas here, bringing you a platinum review for God of War Ragnarok. Wow. First of all, before I start anything, please like the content, share the content, and subscribe if you haven't already. Have to do it. You know how it goes. But in terms of God of War, man, I want to thank Santa Monica Studios personally for making probably the best, if not the best, PlayStation 5 exclusive out right now. Um, Perhaps it'll, for sure, to go in the history books. Let's put it that way. I have a lot of good things to say about God of War Ragnarok. But man, like, just the game just looks gorgeous. Um, I'm playing like on a 4K TV on PS5, and I have like an 8K USB cable, and it just looks amazing. I mean, there's nothing much to say about it in that regard. It's an incredible game, and like again, I'd like to thank Santa Monica Studios for making God of War just a more cinematic experience, right? Without having to give up the quality of the game, right? Without having to give up certain character personalities. Instead, this game just includes more characters than the previous God of War. Like, yeah, you had Balder and you had Freya, but there wasn't like a clear villain, right? It was just a journey. And that's something I can appreciate as well. But God of War has always been known for these enormous boss fights, right? These enormous encounters that are just outside of like the realm of possibility. Especially when it comes to like Norse mythology, right? There's like, just giant bosses scattered around, right? The gods of Olympus, the Titans. And those are kind of some big shoes to fill. And I feel like God of War Ragnarok fills those shoes, right? That urge, especially when it comes to boss battles. I feel like there was pretty much double the amount of bosses from the previous game, which I didn't think it was possible in kind of the time frame that they had. It was just an additional 4 years since God of War, right? God of War 2018. So it's a great leap in that aspect. In terms of like the trophies, right? In terms of like a platinum review, I would say that the trophies are very similar to 2018, just with like sprinkled additions, which is pretty cool. I don't mind that at all. Um, at a staggering 55 hours, I managed to get the platinum for God of War. I pretty much got the platinum a little bit late, I would say. I got it the day before Thanksgiving. By the time you're seeing this, it is Black Friday. That's when I posted this video. But yeah, I use little to no guides. I think the only time I use guides were for like really small stuff like lore scrolls or like sometimes the ravens. The ravens are a little bit hard to see sometimes. But it's I think it was like 98% of the stuff I found on my own. The other two stuff was just like cuz I'm blind. You know what I mean? And it some of the collectibles are kind of a challenge, and I really appreciate that. Um, there are some side quests. I would say, uh, oh, let's just talk about the main story. This time around, you get to play as Atreus, which was kind of a thing that I guess people were asking for from the 2018, right? The remake, right? I wouldn't say it a remake. It's just another trilogy in a way. Um, yeah, this time you get to play as Atreus, and Atreus plays completely. No, I wouldn't say completely different, but he has like a more keep away style than Kratos, right? Kratos is kind of in your face um, type of personality. Atreus is kind of the opposite. And I love the development that the characters bring. Um, not even from each other, but they learn different things from each other this time around, right? Um, it's obvious that Atreus isn't some AI, right? He has his own personality, own his own ambitions and his own goals and all that other stuff, right? And that's pretty awesome that they fleshed it out in this game. It's not easy. It's not easy to write a very coherent story that kind of ties up loose ends and makes a new journey way for certain characters. This game did that exceedingly well. Probably the best that I've seen in a video game in a very long time, right? I think when people talk about God of War Ragnarok in the future, they'll think of games of like Legend of Zelda, right? They'll compare it to like I wouldn't say Metal Gear Solid, but maybe Metal Gear Solid in a story sense. There's just so much layers to everything. There's so many layers to the character, the setting. For sure, the setting is huge, and to be handled in such a way is nothing. It's, I wouldn't say it's a miracle, but it's a godsend for sure. But yeah, in terms of like side quests this time around, both the main story and the side quests, they're gonna net you rewards and resources you're gonna need to kind of upgrade your build. I went for a healer build, um, as most of you know who watch my channel for Apex Legends. Uh, we know all about the healing. So I went for a Valor loadout where you're pretty much constantly healing. And if you are gonna go for a healing loadout, I recommend getting the Raven Tears armor, which will really help you with that healing process because you're gonna get hit a lot. And I played this game on hard mode and I was getting my ass whooped. I didn't want to play it on what was it called? Give Me God of War, strictly because it wasn't really required. Plus, I didn't know what rewards I was gonna net, right? And as far as I know, I don't think there's a new game plus. Someone can correct me in that aspect, but again, this is a platinum review, so you're just here to pretty much get all the trophies. But I'm giving it a review just for people that want to really enjoy the game. But yeah, going back to the main story and the side quests, they're pretty linear. I mean, just go to point A to point B. And what's really great about this game are the side quests are pretty hard to miss. You're going to be backtracking towards a good amount of the levels later on because you're going to have key items later on that you'll need if you do want to collect stuff. So again, the story quest or the side quests are pretty hard to miss. And I think that's really good because either way, the side stories have like a how do you call it, how do I say this, like the side quests just have just backstory and lore, and it's kind of up to you if you really want to go through and read the lore, or you can just be like, oh, I want my rewards. The backstory and the lore of this mission doesn't really matter, which again, it's great because it gives people that option, right? Everyone loves options. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about the characters. Like I said, the characters are incredibly dynamic, and by the end of the story, pretty much every character has had some closure or room for growth. Again, Santa Monica did an amazing job with that. Just like God of War, you can upgrade your skills in combat for both Kratos and Atreus. In 2018, Atreus's upgrade list was a little linear, but you are going to need to do that stuff, like upgrade pretty much everything to get the platinum. So be mindful of that. As you can see, yeah, there's different rage specials. Before you only had like the punching rage mechanic, which, I mean, it's cool, right? Kratos just punching the shit out of people. That's awesome. But, just having more options, healing options, attack options, that's always, welcoming. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, I've said so many positive things, right, about the game. Let's talk about some negatives. At the moment, I only had 3 negatives during my platinum journey. The first being that there's some crashes. I had some crashes fighting some of the major bosses, which, I mean, there's like the checkpoints are very helpful, even in the hardest. I don't know about the hardest difficulty, but there's a good amount of checkpoints. If you die, sometimes when you get a boss up to half health, you can start from there if they have phases. This won't count towards the berserkers, which is the enemy one of the enemies you're seeing me fight. You have to do it all over again, which is reasonable. It's good that God of War still has the challenges. I remember in the previous God of Wars, God of War 1, well, pretty much all the PS3 God of Wars, right? And before, you used to do the Trials of Olympus and stuff like that for challenges, but you kind of had to do those in one go, and it was a bit clunky. But this time around, I mean, there's patches and stuff that can kind of help, but again, like I said, I barely platinumed the game the day before Thanksgiving, so some of these bugs are still going to be there, so keep that in mind. My second negative is going to be some of the puzzles. There's going to be puzzles where you're going to need to do some of the the arrows. I put this clip because I had that boss one shot. If you didn't notice. Anyways, yeah, some of the puzzles are a bit clunky, especially the ones where you need to use specific arrows to kind of burn things. Some of those are really buggy and they're not as precise as they kind of look. Which, I mean, it's not a big deal. Again, these are just collectibles you need to do to platinum. If you don't really care about the platinum, it doesn't matter, right? You're still going to get an incredible story. But that's something I do need to point out because it is kind of I wouldn't say not approached well. It just wasn't explained that well at first, at a glance, right? But once you get a feel for it, you kind of work around the clunkiness, which again, it's just clunkiness, right? It's something that can be fixed in a future title, right? Or a different Santa Monica IP that they work on, right? And then my last negative isn't that big of a deal. For sure, it's gonna be the fast travel. Again, my previous platinum prior to God of War was Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima had an amazing fast travel system where you can even like teleport to places that don't even matter, like a sauna or like a farm, right? Some place that's like just out of nowhere, but it's going to be easier for you to get from point A to point B. And I feel like in the 55 hours that it took me to platinum this game, some of that was just filler, right? Just me running to a specific area that I need to do, or traveling through the boat, right, where I could have just like teleported to a very small POI and go from there, right? But that's very, very small. It's a very small nitpick. And I mean, all these things are very small, and it's like those are all the negatives I have to say about the game. Let's wrap this up. In conclusion, I can confidently say that this is by far the best PS5 exclusive. People are saying Returnal. I mean, Returnal, I will get to Returnal at one point, trust. That might be my next platinum. But, I mean, based on those three negatives that I've had to say about God of War Ragnarok, I'm giving it a 9.7. I'm a huge God of War nerd. I mean, literally, like, my profile for sure is the eye of Kratos from God of War 3. It's a very clear reference. I mean, it's just an incredible game all around, and I feel like everyone definitely needs to get their hands on this new God of War. It's definitely worth your time. Even if you've never played the previous God of Wars, I would say play 18 at least, right, to kind of follow up on the events that happened here. And again, this is just a masterpiece. I want to thank Santa Monica Studios for such an amazing game. It's just so detailed and there's just so much love. I also recommend you guys see the behind the scenes for the making of God of War Ragnarok. It's just an incredible experience all around. But yeah, whew, that was a mouthful all in one go. We just do one takes around here. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a pleasure and good luck on your platinum. Take care and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.
There is no need to shoulder this burden on your own.
Admittedly, you're shouldering the brunt of the work here. Let me worry about the emotional burden.